So guys, it's kind of been a long time that I've not touched the series I started on vendor chat application. So this time around, I'm going to try as much as possible to complete it, all because of this coronavirus pandemic. I was not able to get the items and tools that I need in order to make sure that my sound quality was very nice. But at least the sound I'm using right now is very nice. So this is exactly where we left off in the last part. So right now we are going to create some middleware. But before you continue, make sure you hit the like button and as well as the subscribe button. I'm going to come into the middleware folder. I'm going to create a socket.js middleware file. And inside there, I'm going to bring in the UID. All these things, we covered it up earlier, so I'm not going to go through most of this. I'm going to bring in the auth. The auth is also a middleware that we are going to create very shortly. But now, for now, let me just comment it out. So whenever a user is going to join in our chat room, there are some couple things we need to do. And these couple things are add the user, remove the user, and also get user from the room. So we are going to get this from our helpers. So we did initially create a helper, a user helper over here. So you can see the add user inside of it. So for now, I'm going to bring in the helper. So for now, let me just bring in our add user. And now we are going to export this module. Export the app, the IO, the socket itself, and also the database. And it's going to give us a callback of a function. And inside it, whenever the user joins, or whenever the user connects with our app, of course, this is going to happen whenever the user opens the app instantaneously. It's going to hit our server with the socket API. We're going to return a function with a socket ID, with a socket itself, not a socket ID. And inside there, we can make use of the socket. Then we have to listen on each event. So we have to listen on for the on join. Take for example, whenever the user click on, let's say click on the login route. So there's no user actually now, but I think maybe let me kind of click it. It's been kind of long time I tried this. So I've now added some functionalities. Of course, I'm going to add it very soon. Don't worry. In one of the videos, I'm going to drop as I continue. So whenever the user joins, we want to listen to that event. We want to get the name and the room. It's going to give us a callback that is going to give us a function. So let me close this left panel. So sorry guys for that distraction. So inside the callback, we want to get if there's any error message from, sorry, I'm using the structure in here, any error message, and also the user from the add user we imported at the top. And mind you, this is going to accept an object, the socket.id, as well as the name of the user and also the room. So this an object method, not a dot. So these are the things that we are gonna make use of whenever the user comes from the connection, which is going to be coming from okay, I didn't have it. Okay, let me kind of import the folder to show you what I meant. So I'm just gonna add this here. So close this. Whenever the user joins, let's see, chat action. Let me search for join. So you can see whenever the user joins our chat room, the user is gonna emit a name and a room. The name and the room is exactly what you see here. The name and the room. Then the user is going to emit that, and also this is going to return some couple of things. Let's say if we have an error, it's going to dispatch the error on the payload of chat error. But if you don't have an error, then it's not going to do anything for now. Then this one is the ones that are going to handle our messages. So these are the two things we want. So we want to get the error message and also the user message if we have any error. So if we have any error, simply is going to return callback error. So don't mind what's happening on the Android emulator, all because my machine is kind of waggy. So we have to also join the user with the user room. So hopefully I did understand that you get what I did here. So let's kind of analyze what we did. Whenever the user joins, the user is going to emit a join event at the top here with the name and the room. And name and the room is going to be coming from component mount or whenever the user logged in. Take for example, if the user logs in, the user is going to have a name and also we are going to have a room. So let me kind of see whether I fixed this earlier on. So let's go over to the scenes, chat room, the index. So let me see whether we have. Okay, we don't really have it for now, but I'm gonna explain to you what you're going to do next time. When I'm completing the series, of course we are going to cover it. So the user emits all these things, and if there's any error, and the error is going to come from this callback over here. So if there's any error, this is going to catch the error and dispatch it. Then we are going to present out to the user the error. So that's exactly what we are doing here. But mind you, inside the add user, let's kind of check what we are doing here. Now, let me visit it directly. The add user accepts the ID, the name, and the room. Now, the name, we make everything to the lowercase, change the room also to the lowercase. Then we can insert this into our database. And lastly, we can return the user, the same user that was just added to our database. Exactly what you see here. So there's nothing much we did. So over here we have the name and the room. So we can now get back the error and the user itself. So that's it for joining the user room. Now, whenever the user joins, we want to emit a message. We want to emit a message, something like a bot message, like this user has joined, back to the user. So I'm gonna emit a message. Just gonna be an array of objects. So my screen is kind of not occupying this. The ID is gonna be the UID version 4. Name is going to be at let me change this now to vote bot. We can emit a message that says user.name, let's say both skills. Welcome to the chat room app. We also have to emit a date. So I'm just going to leave this on your own dates. You can use moments to do this. It all depends on your choice. Then a type of bot, so that the user is gonna know that this bot actually that makes a message, and the chat user, we have to return the current user, which is the user.name. So that's it for emitting back a simple message to notify the user that he or she has joined the chat room. So that's it for emitting the message. Now we also want to emit to other people that are connected on the same application using the same chat room. We want to also notify them that this user has also joined. So the way we can do that is to combine the message emitting event. Then we can bring in the socket.broadcast. Now we are going to be emitting to user.room. So anyone that is joined to both, anybody that is joined to the both room or the name of the room that's coming from our app over here, then everybody there is going to get the message. So we emit to the user.room and emit a simple message as well. We use exactly the same thing we did at the top here. So why I use this is because when we are catching this message, we are catching it as a single thing. We don't want to have multiple things handling the message. So that is why on the socket.onMessage here, you can see that is an array. we can access the chat user, and that's exactly what you see over here. So let me close down. That's exactly what you see over here, chat user. So everybody is going to have access to what is happening here. So socket.emit the message, then it's going to be an ID of uuid.version4, name, and vendor bots. So why I use uuid exactly is because I don't want to use the user ID, or else you're going to have the same unique ID as an array of chats, because we are going to return this chat as an array. So we don't want to use the same ID. So that's why I use the UUID, so that we don't crash anything. Even though the UUID is not our concern, it doesn't start to the database. It's just for us to make sure that each React array element has its own unique key. So I'm using vendor bots here, but I'm going to use both bots. Both bots. Can message back to everyone and say that this user has joined the boot skills vendor app. So guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the like button if you really enjoyed this video. So the version 4, as well as the dates, or keep it your own dates. And we're gonna give a type of, a type of bots. Return the chat user just like we did above, and it's gonna be the user.name. So whenever the user joins, we emit a message to the user that you have joined the chat room, and the message is welcome, this user, welcome to the chat room. But for the other users, we want to emit to them that so user has just joined the chat room. So that's exactly what you see me doing here. Then it's going to lastly accept a callback. So down here, beneath here, I'm just going to bring a callback. So let me save that. So there's nothing that's going to happen now because we are not making use of this. So for us to make use of this, we need to come over to our server.js, and over here you can see socket. So that's the way we can make use of the socket.io middleware that we created. So, and also inside there is going to handle a couple of routes. Take for example, when you want to make a post route whenever the user sends a message. So that's why we referenced it as a route. Now beneath that, we also have to get the user message whenever the user is done. So I'm just going to come over here. We are done with everything called message, or everything called join. Called join. Whenever the user join. Now we want to say whenever the user gets a message, socket.get on get message. This is gonna give us a function of app.get. We can now make a request to messages auth slash. Mind you, the auth means that it's a protected route. So for now, let me just get rid of that. We can return the request, and the response is gonna give us a callback of we can specify our MySQL get query, which is going to take a backtick of select from chat room. We have to order that by the ID and the sending. So hopefully you get what I'm doing here. It's just very simple. Kind of get what I'm doing. I want to explain to you now. Of course, we've talked about when the user joins. Now, when the user is trying to get a message after joining, this is exactly what is happening here. You can let me kind of find it. Get message. Okay. So it's going to emit these get messages. Now the get messages is going to get every single message on our server, and it's going to first of all emit here in order to open up. It's going to emit these messages in order to open up the the way we can make a request to messages. Now we can now make a request to messages with our website URL and send the token that we get whenever the user logs in or registers. And that token is why we are using the auth middleware in order to create a protected route. So guys, I'm trying as much as possible to explain this. I know it's been a quite of time I left this video, but I'm sorry to say that I'm back, even though I really apologize for the delay. So kind of enjoy the video and kind of try to understand my explanation as well. So we also have to make use of the database query. You can pass the get query, which is going to return a callback of error and the result. So we can return to the user the response.status 200.json message of the result itself. So this is going to be all the messages from our database to the user. So let me also save that. So there's nothing much there we did. It's just to emit the message. So lastly, I'm also going to specify a socket of send the message whenever the user send message. So that's exactly what you see here. Let me find it. Okay, whenever the user sends a message, the user is gonna send all these things. You can see the user is gonna emit the message, the name, the message, the date, the room. So if you can see here, we are not making a request because if we make a request, it's gonna kind of affect our application. So that's why I did it straightly this way. I think I explained this in one of the videos, so I wouldn't bother explaining it again. But let me just give you a brief idea. When the user clicks on a send message, this method is going to emit a socket of emit send message with all these parameters coming from the message itself. Socket.on send message. We also have to get the name, the message, the date, and the room. That's exactly what you see here: the name, message, date, and the room. That's exactly what you see here. And now it's going to accept a callback. The callback is now going to meet to the room itself. So mind you, the room is coming from our Android app, and that's exactly the room we are in here, the user.room. So the user is going to emit the room, and he's going to emit a message as well. And mind you, the message usually emitted comes in the form of array. So don't forget that we have the id.version 4. The name of the emitter. Let me format this. Sorry guys for that noise. I made a mistake here. There's no mistake here. So I'm just going to bring this down. Scroll this up. The first one is the ID, which is going to be the UUID.version 4. Secondly, we have to bring in the name. I'm just going to use backtick. We have to emit a message as well. Let me just, okay, I think I will just do this way rather than typing it double. Also, we have to emit the dates, and let me just set this to your own dates. This kind of a test for you. You can find a way you can actually make it possible that every single message comes with a specific date, or which is just the date.now. So give it a type of nothing, and we give it a chat user of the name and from name. So whenever the user sends a message, now the user is going to emit to the room we are in and emit this message with his or her credentials or her details. Then the message the user sends the name, the ID, the date of the message. The chat user is just for for us to set some things in our Android app, not on the back end itself. Then from also the name. So all these are going to accept a callback just like this, and then we can just save that. Then at the end of this thing, because we use a callback over here, we also have to bring in the callback. So because why we are using this callback is because we are still going to be emitting back to the message, so to the message itself over here. So I'm just going to come down here, and beneath that, I'm just going to bring in a call back. So that's it. That's the way we can solve it for emitting back a message. The next thing is whenever the user disconnects, we want to delete the user from the active rooms, and as well we also have to handle for the chat room itself. The chat room which comes from over here. Whenever the user sends a message, the user is going to be making a post request, and also in order to get a message for us at the top over here. We also have to handle the event for disconnect. So it's gonna be socket.on disconnect. Which is gonna give us a callback of let's just get delete SQL. Let's just give that one, and we can delete from the active rooms where ID is equals this, and lastly we can query that. So I think I will just name this delete SQL, and we can just query the delete SQL, and we have to make use of the socket.id, and it's going to give us an error and the user itself. Then we can check if there is a user. Then you have to emit to the room the user.name. So I think you kind of understand the logic here. Whenever the user leaves, we have to tell the roommate that this user has just left the chat room. So we have to emit a message, and our message usually is an array, but for this one it's gonna be an object. UUID dot let's use the version 4, and the name or at boot bots. Give it a message of user.name has left the chat room. And also we have to tell them when the user left, which is your own date. And also we have to give it a message ID of UUID.version 4, and a chat user of user.name. So that's it. And also we have to emit to the room. Over here we emitted a message. We also have to emit to the roommate also. Okay, we emitted to the roommate, so I don't think we need to emit any other thing for now. So that's it. We have emitted to whenever the user disconnects, we just have to emit message this user has just left. So that's it for handling our sockets. Whenever the user joins, sends a message or departs from the chat room itself. So one more thing we need to do now is to create a chat room API that can handle our chat room post request whenever we send a message in order to store this post request. So you can see over here, whenever the user makes sends a message from here, we emit a send message. Whenever you are sending a message, when you emit a send message, that's going to emit the message back to us in order for us to be able to store the message, or else we are going to be having multiple collision of message, which we don't really want. So that's why we emitted the message, retrieve the message, and as well we have to now inject it into our database. So beneath here, I'm just going to come down here, add the post chat room. It's kind of look awkward when I don't comment. Chat room API. Then the request and the response. You can give it a data. The data is gonna be data.request request.body. We have to get the name, the message, the date from the data, chat user from the data array, and lastly, we have to check if there is a message. But if there's not a message, then all you just have to do is to return a response status of 200, a JSON message that says, please put type a message. Then we have to create the query for this one. Then we can use the let SQL query b, or let's just give it a store query. Let's store query b equals to insert into chat room. We have to set everything, combine it together. So let me format that. I don't know why it's not working. We have an error somewhere. If not a message, just do this, or else you're just gonna create this for us. Then all you have to do is compose our message body, which is gonna be the ID, UUID.version4. This is gonna have a separate unique ID. Mind you, whenever we are emitting back to the user, we have a separate unique ID generated. But for these ones, they are not being inserted into the database, but we want an ID that whenever the user loads the app and the user comes into the chat room, the user have to see some previous chats. Now, those previous chats are going to have a unique ID. So those unique IDs are exactly what we'll be returning from here. Then we also have to give it a message ID of UUID.version4 to have separate unique IDs. Then we can give it a name, bring the message, the date, the chat user, the type. Then we can now insert into the database db.query SQL and give it a store query. And I don't know why I'm having some kind of error here. So let me comment this to find the problem. If it's not, so we have an error over here. Just going to use this. So I kind of did a cross check, and I found out that this is supposed to be here, because everything we are going to be doing must be inside our socket, especially when our socket is connected, because we don't want somebody from somewhere else to make a request to our app. So I'm still going to remove this for now. So this is exactly the end product of posting back to our user or storing this to the database. So let's save that. In the next video, we can now link everything together and connect everything together to our Android app. Then we can now have a lively React Native chat application. So in order to make this name come alive. So we are done with every other. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and also the like button.